We've got a number of players in Asia right now. We know that the president is there, and we know that our own prime minister is on this very important trip to Asia, seeking a new trade deal with Asian partners.
12 hours after U.S. President Donald Trump's social media post threatening an additional 10% in tariffs on Canadian goods, Prime Minister Mark Carney addressed the situation with journalists, though he took no questions and said little he had not before.
The government of Canada stands ready to build on the progress that we had been making in our negotiations or discussions with our American counterparts. We have a consistent focus in those discussions on doing the best deal for Canadian workers and their families.
What happens when a major middle power leader steps into one of Asia's most influential diplomatic forums, while a traditional superpower partner watches from the sidelines? We will uncover later how Canada's move in the Indo-Pacific may quietly signal a shift in global power dynamics.
All right, good morning. Look, for months we have stressed the importance of distinguishing things we can control and things we can't control. We can't control the trade policy of the United States. We recognize that that policy has fundamentally changed from the policy in the 1980s, 1990s, 2000s. And it's a situation where the United States has tariffs against every one of their trading partners to different degrees. And it's in that context that our officials, my colleagues, have been working with their American colleagues on detailed, constructive negotiations, discussions on specific transactions, specific sectors, steel, aluminum, and energy, and a lot of progress has been made. And we stand ready to pick up on that progress and build on that progress when the Americans are ready to have those discussions, because it will be for the benefit of workers in the United States, workers in Canada, and families in both of our countries.
The Canadian Prime Minister arrives in Southeast Asia, greeted with diplomatic attention and regional interest, while across the Pacific, the United States faces stalled negotiations. The change in tone is subtle, but it could reshape how Canada positions itself in the world. Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney recently embarked on a mission to Asia that included the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summit in Kuala Lumpur, along with subsequent visits to Singapore and South Korea. This comes at the same time as the United States, under President Trump, ended trade negotiations with Canada. Trump attributed the decision to disagreements triggered by a political advertisement in Ontario and increasing frustration over U.S.-Canada trade disputes.
Trump announced on his social media that Canada will face an additional 10% in tariffs, quote, above what they're paying now. This comes just days after trade talks with Ottawa broke down. At the center of the dispute is a $75 million ad campaign launched by the Ontario government. Now, the ads, which aired on major U.S. networks, featured a clip from former President Ronald Reagan's 1987 speech on free trade, warning that tariffs hurt American workers and consumers. Premier Ford responding, saying Ontario will pause the campaign starting tomorrow.
The contrast between new opportunities abroad and strained talks with a neighbor sets the stage for a deeper transformation. Carney's Asia trip is centered around a clear, trade-driven objective. Canada has formalized a comprehensive partnership with Indonesia that could expand duty-free access to up to 95% of Canadian exports within the next 8 to 12 months. The targeted sectors include agriculture, energy, aerospace, and telecommunications.
We are capable of doing more than one thing at one time. You'll be seeing within the course of the next 2 weeks an ambitious budget which makes generational investments in Canada, and we are in the process of diversifying our trade relationships, the focus of our meetings here in Asia. And those are tangible. We have an intention to more than double our exports away from the United States over the course of the next decade. That's more than $300 billion. We agreed already today with the President.
Meanwhile, Canada's reliance on the U.S. market remains very high, with approximately 75% of exports still going south of the border. The need for diversification is not political rhetoric, it is an economic priority. Here is the reveal promised earlier. Canada is deliberately reducing its dependence on the United States and activating new trade relationships across Asia.
We intend over the course the course of food security. We mentioned food security. Ken Seitz is your one-stop shop for food security with Nutrien globally, and that's actually not an exaggeration. It happens to be true. There you go. First boast of the evening. Secondly, it's enormous food. I'm just warming up for my American level of boasting.
Meanwhile, the diplomatic optics toward the United States are shifting. During the Asia-Pacific meetings, President Trump publicly stated he did not anticipate a meeting with Prime Minister Carney. While diplomatic schedules often vary, it is highly unusual for Canadian and American leaders to attend the same high-level gatherings without holding official discussions.
Things are escalating here with this the tariff war, which seems to be never ending, and now we have Mark Carney and Donald Trump in Asia. But things can still continue to crumble, if you want to say, right now.
The absence of this customary engagement suggests the bilateral relationship is not operating on its decades-long autopilot mode. This leads to a challenging question. Is the United States losing influence over former stable partners? Internationally, the symbolism of Canada's Asia presence matters. When Canadian leaders are welcomed as strategic participants, Asian governments signal that they view Canada not as America's dependent, but as a capable partner that brings innovation, governance stability, and valuable resources. For Canadian companies, the shift opens new trade corridors, more investment sources, and a larger consumer network. For Canadian workers, it means future careers connected to booming economies, not only to trading routes that lead south. However, rewiring economic relationships is complex. The United States remains Canada's largest partner and will continue to matter significantly. Supply chains and logistics systems built over generations cannot change instantly. Transition requires infrastructure, long-term investment, regulatory cooperation, and trust between businesses and governments. Canadian policymakers acknowledge that diversification is a marathon, one requiring patience and strategic commitment. Carney has emphasized that moving toward economic independence will involve adjustments and sacrifices.
We are going to double our non-U.S. exports over the course of the next 10 years. We think we can do it in a much shorter period of time. That's $300 billion of additional exports. Most of that is going to come from Asia, in our view, and I'll justify that in a second. But on top of this, and I just underscore this because this is a two-way relationship, our expectation coming out of the budget is that we're laying out a path for at least $500 billion of additional investment in Canada in the next 5 years.